In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to mill both sides of your board properly. Now we're doing a single-sided board on this particular tutorial. However, if you are doing a double-sided board, first what you will do is you will mill the component side copper first, since that is the same layer your drill holes are on. Then you will flip the board, that is, you will perform a material change, as we did before. First, however, you want to send the mill to the home position so that you can reach back and take the tape off of that back left corner. So we'll just go ahead and move the mill into the home position now, so you can reach back and take this tape off, since at the material change the head will be over that point. Then you do the material change, take all the tape off the board, flip the board from left to right, so that what you milled on this side is now underneath the board on this side. Then you would mill your solder layer and your board outline file at that time. And remember, when you're doing a double-sided board, you will see all the files on this side of the board. However, the mill will actually be milling the mirror image on the opposite side of the board. Always make sure that you flip your board this way and not from front to back, always from left to right, because the mirroring is around the center line created by those two pins. Now for the single-sided board, having drilled the holes, we are now ready to mill the copper layer, which would be the solder side copper layer. So we'll pretend that we've already milled the component layer and flip the board over for a double-sided board. And this would be done on the reverse side of your board if you're doing a double layer board. For the single layer board, there is only one layer that we're going to worry about. Then we go to the mill menu, we select run layer, and you are going to select not the original solder layer, but the isolation layer that you created for it, the 10 mil isolation here. Now when you select that, it will bring up the tool change menu. Since we've already put the tool in and set it, we don't have to worry about this. All we have to worry about is pushing OK. Now the mill will go through the process of milling. For this single, we're actually cutting out the solder side copper. You'll notice here that the pressure foot is pushing down the board while we're milling it, but you'll notice that it is working right around this area. So if we had that tape over this part, then that foot would come up on the tape and it wouldn't cut as deeply into your board as was necessary. You also see that while the vacuum picks up most of the dust and scraps from the mill, there is just a slight little bit left, and once we go to cut out the board, there will be a great deal of this that we'll need to remove with an external vacuum cleaner. Now for the purposes of this tutorial, that milling process was very short. We'll just want to go and examine the milling cuts that we made. Just visually examine those and make sure that the mill did in fact cut through all the way to the fiberglass for each cut. If it didn't, we can click this down 1 or 2 clicks to raise the pressure foot up to cut a little more deeply, and we can run that process again to cut more deeply into the board if it was too shallow at first. However, the cut we made for the tutorial looks very good, so at this point we are ready to cut out a single-sided board. Now remember, if you had the double-sided board, you would, from our milling setup, done your component side isolation layer, then you would flip that board over, then you would do the solder side isolation layer on the other side, and then we would be to this point. In the next tutorial, I am going to show you how to cut out your board, that is, to remove it from that surrounding copper plate.